All right, we need to go now to the press club, and when Laurie Oakes got to his feet and asked the question of Julia Gillard, he talked about the conversation that was going on in Kevin Rudd's office, and he said that at some point Kevin Rudd, in effect, asked for a stay of execution. Give me until October to see if I can regain my popularity, and the allegation is she agreed to that, and then Oakes went on with this.
When the meeting resumed, you said you'd changed your mind, you'd been informed that he didn't have the numbers in caucus and you're going to challenge anyway.
Some special things obviously happen when you become Prime Minister, one of which is that the great Laurie Oakes comes to your National Press Club addresses, so I thank you for that. That's never happened to me in my life before. So, Laurie, I think you're worried you're going to disappoint me by not moving forward. I'm sure you're going to move forward at some point. I'm going to disappoint you by not looking back.
Now, I suppose you couldn't claim that as a curability agreement because it lasted 3 minutes as against 3 years or something. And, but did she have an obligation to have it? If that's right, she said that I find that a reasonable proposition, and then she changes her mind?
Well, no one really knows what went on in the room, but it was silly. If it was put in the way that it was supposed to have been put, it was a very silly idea. I mean, it wouldn't have lasted. It would have leaked very quickly. You would have had a Prime Minister who was there on probation, still a captive of the polls, and someone who was ready to step in. So the idea never made sense. What Julia Gillard said in response, we don't know. If she said, oh, that's a sensible idea, and then went away and thought about it for a minute, she would have been quite correct to then walk back in and say, that's a silly idea. It's not going to happen.
Imagine the alternative scenario. We all knew that she'd gone in there to ask him to stand aside, and then she comes out and says, actually, it's all OK. The leadership speculation is built to that frenzy. He's clearly already mortally wounded, and she didn't have the courage or the conviction to actually take him on. I mean, that would have been, for the Labor Party, a truly disastrous scenario. So I actually think, as unpleasant as these things are, as much as they rankle with people, as much as knocking off a serving Prime Minister is a difficult thing, you'd want a leader who, armed with the information that she could win, would actually take the decision and do it rather than dither around.
And still the issue is out there what to do with Kevin Rudd. Have a look at these pictures from Washington, and what struck us about this is he's all on his own, and you haven't seen that for 2.5 to 3 years. He's usually surrounded by security, police and minders and so on. He did eventually, perhaps off his own bat, organise some key meetings, one of them, of course, with the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon. But do we see this as Kevin Rudd looking for an alternative way out, or is he committed to standing for Griffith?
I think certainly at the moment he is committed to standing for Griffith. He's been saying that publicly, and he's been telling people in no uncertain terms privately that he's going to run for Griffith. And unless something completely unexpected happens, and at the moment, always expect the unexpected. But unless something completely unexpected happens, I think he'll nominate for Griffith and run.
And then beyond that, you've got the whole Hawke-Keating thing that came to the fore again this week. That's after 19 years. You'd have to say that doesn't bear well for the potential relationship down the track between Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard.
I think that's another reason, really, to call an election. That things had really got a little bit internal navel-gazing.
Beyond the election?
Internal, as well as going back into the past with the Hawke and Keating thing. As much as we love them all, Barry, but, I think we've had enough of their bickering, and we really do need to move forward for that one.
After 19 years, it's enough.
Well, I mean, don't you think that if they get through the election campaign without any more of this airing of grievances, I think it's still possible that he could, and if Labor won, that he could become Foreign Minister and they could move forward. But if we get into much more airing of grievances, who's responsible for what, then it could really degenerate.
If we can just go one reference, though, back to the book, Blanche Delpuze's book, and not any reference to Paul Keating or anybody else, but there was one you might have missed, and that was that Bob Hawke, through Blanche Delpuze, had to go at Graham Richardson. We better give him right of reply. Here he is.
Have you read the book, Richo, where Blanche describes you as a gifted liar?
Yeah, no, I having had a good look at a lot of things in the book, I'd have to return the compliment towards Bob, except I wouldn't say gifted.